What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Listen, if you were the prime driver or whatever driver it was that saw me on the highway that got on the CB, throw it in the comments below. Rolling through Ohio this morning and somebody gave a shout out, but man, this has been a great week. Not quite as good as 2 weeks ago, but a good week. And I had somebody that was wanting me to be a little bit more specific about loads, pay, miles, all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna do it this time. I'm just not gonna be doing it a lot of the time, and I'm gonna kind of go over these specific loads as well. I also did just put out a video where I was asking why somebody would want business credit. Now I'm gonna get to those comments. I started reading through them, but then I was like, you know what, let me just do a video while I read the comments for the first time, and then kind of go from there. Because as I was kind of reading through them, I think I got through about 4 of them, and a couple of those things kind of made some sense, though I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in on that. But let's talk about last week's load. Now, what made 3 weeks ago so good was I was coming off of home time and came straight out banging. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually it takes me a little while to kind of get into the groove of things, but that was one of my best weeks, probably one of my top 2 weeks. Then I took took about 4 days down at Prime. Not because my Peterbilt was busted up. I just wanted to see if they could adjust a couple things, and I kind of got on the Springfield yard, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just relax. I'll worry about this stuff when I go home. Anyway, let's talk about this last week. So, my first load of last week was coming off the yard. Now, before I forget, the miles I ran last week was about a little over 2,800 miles. And as a lease driver, you're really trying to run the fewest amount of miles for the most money, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So my first load coming out of the yard was a load that I picked up at Springfield Terminal going to Tar Heel, North Carolina. This was a farmland foods load, so I'm assuming that was a Swift load or something like that. I forgot. Anyway, it was a meat load. Was that Smithfield or something? Anyway, this title farmland foods, so let's just go with that. That load was 1,011 miles, and it paid $24.36. Good load. Short, good dollars per mile, good dollars per day, everything you're looking for. And it was a pretty light load too. It was I think right at around 27,000 pounds or something like that, so that was good. Next load I picked up as a matter of fact, it was Smithfield. Picked up right at Smithfield packing, so I didn't have to go anywhere. Picked up there and went to Grayson, Kentucky. That was 456 miles, and that one paid $1,184, so that was a good load. Somebody's backing in right next to me. Next load after that I got from Louisville, Kentucky, this is the load I did not like, going to Newark, New Jersey. Now, if you know me, you know I do not like messing with that Northeast. Not because I can't drive up there, it's just like the parking and all that, and just being stressed out about stuff. This particular load, before I get into the money and the miles and everything, was one of those loads where you cannot drive to the shipper, just like pull in. You had to like park on the road and then walk in. Then you checked in at one place, and then they sent you down to another place, which was about a quarter mile down the road. Then you had to go get in your truck and then park. So I got there about, I think my appointment was for 0800. I got there 0500. And man, I had to park about 5 blocks away, and I'm telling you, if anybody's seen that Mob Deep Survival of the Fittest video, that's what it looked like walking up to that guard shack. But that load was 883 miles and paid $1,689. So Good load, just don't like going to New Jersey. And I told my fleet manager as soon as I pulled up there, I was like, if I don't have a pre-plan, by the time I get unloaded, I'm heading towards Pennsylvania on I-78, and then we can kind of regroup then. Actually, night dispatch was on at that point. Then, once I was unloaded, I told my fleet manager I got 15 minutes before I got to move. If I don't have a load, I'm getting out of here. And I'm headed that direction. Find me a load like that direction. So he's like, cool, I got you. Well, what ended up happening, which is my last and final load, was I stopped at a TA in Wilkes-Barre, New Jersey. Nice TA, liked it. I stayed there the previous night, and I paid for parking, and it was good until 3 p.m. the next day. So I just went back up there, parked, and I got the email or the message, whatever you call them here, saying we just lost a truck on this FedEx load. It's could you cover it? It's already late. Can you handle it? So I was like telling them, my hours are pretty low. I'm working on my 14-hour clock. Plus I got to drive through New York City and all that kind of stuff. So my hours are low. The loads, I said my hours are low. He's like, well, if you could pick it up and then you run out of hours, then we could maybe look at a repower or something like that. And the load was, let's get into the figures, 300 miles. So I had to deadhead about 60 miles to get there, and it paid $902. And that was going from Wellington, Connecticut to West Hampton, New Jersey. So what I told him was, listen, the load's gonna get there. You ain't gotta worry about no repower or anything like that. It's just how creative I'm gonna have to be to get it there. Because, listen, hours of service, all that stuff, I understand it. I've never had violation hours of service. And sometimes, sometimes you might just have to do what you got to do. I'm just not going to not get the load there, especially on a FedEx load, just because something as small as hours. But didn't need to worry about it. Got there with 14 minutes left on my clock, and I was able to stay there overnight. There's a TA right down the road, but I didn't even want to mess with that. I was tired, so I just shut down there. And as soon as I did my shipper call, because I told my fleet manager, get me the hell out of here. So he sent me a load, which is going to go on next week's pay, which was from New Berlin, New York. Chobani load going to Fort Worth, Texas. And that load is total 1,800 miles for about $2,100. Not a great load pay-wise, but shit, I'd have deadheaded to Fort Worth, Texas to get out of that New Jersey, New York, Boston, and all that. So anyway, I think that puts my revenue somewhere right around $6,100. All my loads except for the one Smithfield load going from Kentucky to New Jersey were light. I mean, I think the FedEx load was 13,000 pounds. No, it was 12,000 pounds. We already went over the one going to Tar Heel off the yard, and then the next one going anyway, all of them were pretty light loads. So as far as fuel economy goes, I think I'll be doing good as far as fuel goes. I did hit some heavy tolls up there, and I went over the George Washington Bridge, so I'm about to get broke down on tolls. But I'm thinking if I cleared $6,200, or that was the gross revenue, I'm gonna let me do some math right quick. And I always seem to be pretty close on my math. Ask the Million Mile Man. He's questioned me a few times, and I've been pretty close. But say $6,200. So you subtract out the truck payment. I'm just gonna, let me just subtract out, I'm being conservative. I'm gonna subtract out some fuel. Subtract out some tolls. I think I'm gonna be around $3,100 to $3,500. So that's a good week. Am I forgetting to subtract something else out? I don't know. The tolls is going to be kind of what this is coming down to. But you know what? Like I said, 2 back-to-back working weeks that have been extremely well. So anyway, like I said, I hope this answers your question as to kind of what you have forward to look to as far as leasing goes. Now, like I said, everybody's lease experience is different. I talk to people all the time that, you know, some of them are doing, you know, better than me some weeks, worse than me other weeks. Some people are doing better, you know, consistently better. Some people are doing consistently worse. So it's really hard to, you know, it's hard to tell what your experience is going to be like. Some of that's going to have to do with how you run your clock, your fleet manager. And I will say that the people that I've talked to that I would say that I've talked to that sometime are consistently doing better, have mastered their clock. There are times that I've just done stupid shit. Like, you know, even yesterday, or not yesterday, on that load that I was doing from New Jersey up to Connecticut, that day alone, I had accidentally stayed on duty at the shipper longer than I was actually checking in. That cost me about, you know, 5 extra minutes right there. I used regular drive time as opposed to you know, as opposed to using yard move on one. I mean, I just got in a rush and I'm just throwing away these hours. And as far as the clock went on that New Jersey load, with, you know, getting there with only 14 minutes left, the yard movements didn't really matter in that case because I was working on my 14. But in overall hours, just in like little nickel and dime stuff, and that's really what it comes down to. You're not like, I mean, there are people that totally mismanage their clock, that, you know, they just totally mismanage their clock. But a lot of times it just comes down to, you know, 5 minutes here, 4 minutes there, not personally conveying, you know, here. Like, I even made that mistake. I was in such a rush to get out of New Jersey. I dropped my load. I was under no load, and I just drove to the truck stop on duty. That wasted a good 45 minutes right there. So that's uncommon. But you get the point. People that are doing consistently better aren't making those little mistakes. People that are doing consistently worse probably are making those mistakes. Anyway, that is that video. Like I said, I'm gonna answer these comments off the top of my head as far as the business credit thing, so I really haven't even read those comments yet. But also want to do a video about prime TNT students. You know, I got on the trainers a while back. It's time to get on some students as well, because I've been kind of talking to a few trainers about that. So anyway, do want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I appreciate it. Sorry for being so long-winded. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.